The Mountain. Dogman. Dear Scary Stories NYC. I've got a story for you about the Dogman that took place in Mountain, Wisconsin. Which is not actually a mountain at all, really. I mean, I guess it is in a sense because it has an elevation of 900 feet. But when you're there, it just seems like relatively flat land for the most part. Mountain is a town in Oconto County, a wee bit north of the Menominee Reservation, and about 65 miles northwest of Green Bay, where the Packers play. It's over 200 miles north of the location of the famous Bray Road werewolf sightings from back in the 1990s, but it's got a lot more natural wild areas around it, and I think it's a more logical place to run into a dogman. If you've ever been down by Bray Road, you'll see it's flat land and farmland. I don't know where a dogman could hide down there. There aren't very many trees. Mountain is up north in the region of the Great Lakes, and if you're a big cryptid and high strangeness fan, then you probably already know that weird things often happen up in the Great Lakes area. So, I was out having fun with my friend we can call Erwin, and it was getting to be the end of the night. Erwin wanted to get some coffee, but I was driving, and I was tired, so I said it was time to head home. I was going to drop him off first, but I realized I was running low on fuel, so I stopped in the gas station over on Route 64 over there. Erwin stopped into the convenience store in the back to get himself a coffee or a Red Bull or something, while I filled up my tank. While I was doing that, something caught my eye. There was someone walking through the brush and trees across the street. That seemed like a strange thing to do, so an alarm bell went off inside me, and I squinted my eyes to get a better look. It was a really tall man. Or I guess I should say humanoid, because this thing had a dog-like head. My heart started racing, and I was thinking that maybe this was what the dogman looks like in real life. It was walking on its hind legs between the trees and some foliage, and the bushes got higher over by the little road signs, high enough to hide the creature from my view. I don't really know how tall it was, but those bushes were at least a little bit taller. I only saw the top half of him initially, not his legs, but he had a massive chest like a bodybuilder, and really long and strong-looking arms. He was covered all over with dark fur, and had pointed ears up on top like Batman. Only this guy was not wearing a costume. In fact, he wasn't wearing anything but his natural fur coat. I waited for a while and then saw him walking out the other side of those bushes, heading over toward Kelly's Thirsty Buck Saloon. By then, I was looking at it 3/4 from behind, and I could see that this thing had wolf legs on the bottom, totally different from its man-like arms up on top. It was not really an upright walking canine, because only the legs and the head even looked canine. The chest and the arms were like a monster man, or, a big old caveman, I guess. Erwin came out of the convenience store just as it was about to pass behind that bar, and I waved him over. He didn't see what I was pointing at. He was acting like a fool. I paid for the gas, and as I did that, I saw the creature walking over toward the schoolhouse bar, the one with the PBR sign out front, over by Highway W. The creature was walking behind both bars, to be clear. Here's a diagram to show where I first saw it to where I last saw it. It started out walking along the edge of the trees down to the right, then moved out behind the saloon, walking onward until it disappeared behind the schoolhouse bar. Erwin was already flying high on his caffeine or taurine or whatever he was drinking, and he was jabbering on about some girl he saw inside the store. I was trying to tell him I'd just seen a dogman, but he wasn't listening to anyone but himself. I wanted to drive over and see if I could figure out where that thing was going, so I told Erwin to get in the car, and eventually he actually did. By the time I got over behind the schoolhouse bar, though, I couldn't see hide nor hair of the creature any longer. At some point, Irwin asked me what I was looking for, even though I had already told him 12 times. I said I'm looking for the Dogman that I'd just seen walking over behind these 2 bars. And then Irwin got even more hyped up. He said I should have told him a Dogman was there. He always wanted to see a Dogman and all that. He can be a real idiot sometimes. So we drove around for another half hour or so, but I never did see the creature again, and I don't even have a guess about where he went to. Irwin said we should get out and look for tracks, but both places were closing up, and I didn't want to get out of the car in a lonely, dark place where I just saw a really tall Dogman walking. Just the idea of doing that creeps me out, just thinking about it. I mean, maybe the Dogman was hiding out in the shadows. Maybe it let itself be seen, hoping some fool like me would follow it into the darkness where it could ambush me. I don't know if ambushing is a Dogman thing, but it's just an idea of what might have been happening. I mean, I never caught sight of him past the schoolhouse bar, so I don't have any proof that he actually walked any further than that. Whenever I drive around Michigan at night since then, I keep my eyes peeled in case I might get a chance to see that thing again. And when I walk around at night over there, I'm more alert than if I were walking through a bad neighborhood in a big city. I admit, I do want to see the Dogman again, but I also want to make sure I survive any future encounter with the Mountain Dogman. Don't go anywhere, we've got another Mountain Dogman story coming up in a second, but first, we'd like to thank Ron Barracuda from Oklahoma City and not Bermuda, eating steak or eating Gouda. Ron Barracuda, he's our Buddha. Please join us in thanking Ron Barracuda, who made this episode possible. That's why he gets to see our secret uncensored Dogman stories, as well as our over 21 hours of archived scary Dogman stories, all far too wild to tell on this channel. In fact, we've got a 3rd Dogman story set on a mountain today for our PayPal subscribers and channel members, and you can become one too. Just go to peterbernard.com or click that join link under this or any of our videos. But before Mountain Dogman story number 3 for our paid subscribers, let's tell you Mountain Dogman story number 2 right now for free. And the name of that one is The Dogman of Bake Oven Knob. Dear Scary Stories NYC. Bake Oven Knob is a mountain that goes up more than 1,500 feet in a mountain range that snakes through Pennsylvania in the land north of Allentown and south of Scranton and Wilkes-Barre. It's not a mountain like Everest or Kilimanjaro. You don't need oxygen when you reach the top. Actually, at the top is a forest. A rocky forest, but a forest nonetheless. You can camp out up there. And that's what I was doing when I had a pretty terrifying Dogman encounter that knocked my ego down a few levels. I used to feel like I was king of the world when I was hiking and camping, but since this experience, I feel a lot more like an uninvited guest when I'm out in the wild. This was, I guess, almost 10 years ago now. I can't believe that it's been 10 years, but it has, or it will be in October. It was autumn time, and this was probably going to be my last time hiking around before winter set in. I was hanging with these 2 guys back then that we can call Chad and Jeremy. They seemed like cool guys when we were playing video games together, because it's okay to act like an idiot in the living room playing a game. I didn't realize they would continue to act like fools when we got out in nature, though. Believe me, I wouldn't have invited them along if I knew how immature they would act. Everything was a game to them, but I guess I shouldn't have expected any different. When we hiked up the mountain, they were yodeling and shouting and being idiots, but they weren't getting on my nerves yet. It was a sunny day, and at that point, there weren't so many people around, so I let them have their fun. When we reached the top, we found it very crowded. We wanted to check out one of the viewing spots, but it was crowded with all these families. Also, I was disappointed that there was graffiti everywhere. But Chad and Jeremy were excited to see that. They had actually brought paint cans with them to leave tags. They had thought ahead to bring equipment to deface nature. I was saddened inside, but I didn't say anything because I didn't want them to think I was some kind of a dork. We hiked around the rest of the mountain and decided we'd go back later when the crowds went home and the night was coming on. We found a pretty good spot to watch the sunset from through the trees, and as it progressed, we saw the families and the tourists beginning to leave. We decided to camp out in a tiny clearing in the woods and tell scary stories to each other, so I started pitching the tent. Of course, those two didn't know how to. I tried to teach them, but they were too busy joking around and acting like children to learn anything. They were beginning to get annoying, but I tried to keep it to myself. After all, it's not my job to be the fun police. Just because I was already serious about the present and the future, that didn't mean everyone had to be. It would have been nice if they could have focused a little bit, though. So, it was nighttime and getting a little chilly when we left our campsite and started hiking over to that viewing spot that we had wanted to check out earlier. By this point, there was nobody, and I mean nobody around. It was just me and the two loudmouth nincompoops, as my father used to call them. On that night, for the first time, I understood the reason why my dad didn't care for Chad and Jeremy. When we got within viewing distance of the rocky outcrop that was the viewing point, we stopped and we got quiet because of what we saw standing alone on the rock, enjoying the view below. "It's a big naked guy," whispered one of my genius friends. "It's a big naked furry," whispered the other one, and the two started giggling like the morons they were. They were trying to be quiet about it because they didn't want the object of their derision to hear them. Unlike Chad and Jeremy, I wasn't sure what I was looking at. It was big, all right, and it was furry, but I didn't think it was a furry. There was some major cognitive dissonance kicking in as I looked at the back of this tall figure standing there enjoying the night. It almost made me feel dizzy staring at him because I honestly didn't understand what I was seeing. It stood like a man, but its legs were all messed up. For a minute, I wondered if it was a man who had his legs amputated and replaced by artificial legs of some kind. They bent differently than normal legs do, and the feet seemed kind of small, but he seemed perfectly balanced on top of them. I could see ears on top, but they did not seem like ears on a mask of any kind. I could swear I saw him moving the ears around the way a dog would do, but it might have been the wind blowing them around. At that distance, I really couldn't be sure. So there were these red flags, and I didn't want to get any closer to the guy because I didn't know if that was a human or what it was. So as I said, it's rocky up there on top of Bake Oven Knob, and before I noticed, Chad and Jeremy started picking up stones off the ground and carrying them back to the spot I was standing on. I was about to whisper to them that we should back off and give this big guy some more space, but before I could say anything, they started hurling these rocks over toward the ledge that the figure was standing on. I told them to stop. They might kill the guy. You don't throw stones at people, you could hurt them, or you might accidentally knock the guy off the ledge. They got angry at me and said they were just trying to scare the big idiot. They pushed me away and went back to doing what they were doing. As I watched, one of the thrown stones bounced on the ledge and then ricocheted off the back of one of the guy's legs. He turned around, saw the rock, then swung around a full 180 degrees to see who threw it. That was when we got our first look at this guy. It was dark out, but it was an almost full moon, so it wasn't like we were blind out there. We could see this guy well enough to tell that he wasn't any kind of furry. Both Chad and Jeremy cursed under their breath as the three of us saw with our own eyes that we had angered something that none of the three of us could understand. I do think I had heard of the Dogman before that night, but I don't remember making the connection in that moment. My brain was still doing the math, basically. I didn't know how that man could have a head that looked so much like a wolf. I didn't understand how all these different body parts fit together into one single creature. He looked like he was part canine, and part human, and part bear, and all monster. The eyes glowed a bright yellowish off-white, and I didn't think there was enough ambient light around for it to have such bright eyes. I felt a chill run through my whole body, and I started shivering. I whispered that we should go back to the tent, but I felt so cold, so drained of normal body warmth, that I stuttered as I tried to talk, and I never finished the sentence. In the next moment, that dog-headed, hairy man spotted us and charged at us. Then, no words were necessary anymore, and the three of us knew there was only one option left in our lives. That one remaining option was to run. Have you ever felt that you were going to die? Have you ever felt that sense of fear and doom and sadness? You think about the strangest things in those moments, don't you? You see moments from your childhood. You see times people were kind to you when you didn't say thank you. You see times when you could have been kind to others, but you weren't. You see your happiest moments, and you see your deepest regrets. You also think stupid and weird thoughts, silly thoughts. I mean, like, as we ran like little rabbits from the big wolf man, I remembered Monty Python's Holy Grail movie when they run away from that killer rabbit. I remember thinking, run away, in my head, as though the last few moments before being torn apart limb from limb was an excuse for levity. My conscious mind may have been gripped by terror, but my subconscious thought the entire episode was a belly laugh riot. I don't think the subconscious mind even cares one little bit about survival, which makes me think that maybe it's not mortal. See what I mean? You sometimes think weird thoughts when you're certain that you're about to pass away. My initial plan was to run back to our tent, but the path the Dogman took cut us off from that option. We just had to keep going, keep running, get out of his sight, and out of his mind. At one point, we ducked behind some bushes, and we really thought we had lost him. The loudest barking I ever heard in my life erupted just on the other side of that bush, and that's when we knew we had miscalculated. I remember running and hearing nothing but my heart and my breathing, and then I heard a louder breathing, and I understood. That was the Dogman. He was right on our heels, and he wasn't letting us go. And then we ran into a crowd of people, accidentally bumping into a few of them and being called rude. I apologized, saying we were being chased by. I looked and I made a motion to point, but there was nothing there to point to. The Dogman had either given up the chase, or else he was hiding behind something because I couldn't see anything out of the ordinary. The two goofs started going on and on about a 7 or 8 foot tall dog that was trying to eat us, and the crowd laughed at them. "Son, a 7 foot tall dog is called a bear," this one older guy said, and everyone had a big chuckle at our expense. I agreed with them it was a bear, and asked if we could walk with them down off the mountain for safety reasons. They agreed, but they kept mocking us for the entire rest of the way. When we got back to civilization and I felt a little more confident that we were going to be okay, I lost it on Chad and Jeremy. I shouted at them that they almost got us killed. They insisted it was the Dogman that almost killed us, not them. I asked them what kind of complete idiots throw rocks at a 7 foot tall man or animal or monster or anything. Who starts a fight with a monster? Nobody I wanted to hang out with any longer, that was for sure. I broke up with them on the spot. Other than meeting to exchange video games and stuff we had left at each other's houses, I never met with either of them ever again. The next afternoon, I went up the mountain to get my tent back, but when I found it, the thing was torn up and covered in graffiti. I didn't think the Dogman had anything to do with it. I think someone tore it up with a knife or scissors or something like that. Why would someone do something like that? Then again, why would someone throw rocks at a Dogman? If you go to Bake Oven Knob, I would advise getting there early in order to get a good viewing spot. I would also advise getting out of there before nightfall to avoid running into the Dogman of Bake Oven Knob. Thanks for watching till the end. If you liked what you saw, please consider clicking like on the video or sharing it with your friends and family that you think might also be interested. If you would like to see more of our work, please consider subscribing and hitting that bell icon next to the subscribe button so that YouTube will alert you when we put out a new video. To become a channel member and gain access to our special perks, you can click that join link under each of our videos. Another option is to join our PayPal subscribers club at peterbernard.com. You can join for as little as 99 cents on YouTube or $1.50 at peterbernard.com. And that gains you access to our weekly secret uncensored episodes. If you'd like to see our 21 hours of archives of uncensored Dogman stories, then please join at the $3 level or above. To get to watch our shows in advance of the public, please join at our $10 level. That gets you all the perks. We're working on figuring out how to add the $10 level to the PayPal Club too. Hopefully that will happen sometime before August of 2021. If you join our channel memberships, you need to check our community page here on YouTube in order to get the links to the secret videos and other perks. If you're in the PayPal Subscribers Club, Peter will email you all the news and links himself. Once joining the PayPal Club, which is Peter's homemade club, please give him a chance to see that you've joined and to compose you a personal welcome email, as none of that is automated. But whichever you join, we'll name you an executive producer for the next available episode. Do you have a scary experience that you'd like to share with us? You can email us at scarystoriesnyc@gmail.com or call our Scary Stories voicemail hotline at 804-LA-SCARY. That's 804-537-2279. It's a Google voicemail box, so that means it keeps cutting off after every 3 minutes. If your story is longer than that, please keep calling back and we can piece it together on our end. Good night, and have a scary tomorrow.
Come back for more scary stories.